There are parents out there who are dating and they're focusing on getting their romantic life on track. And sometimes they do this to the detriment of their own children. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. One of the things that I've noticed over the years and worked with people over the years are parents who, prioritize their romantic life and interests over their children. And it is to the detriment of their children. Believe it or not, Dr. Jones has lost friends over this, and I'm okay with that. But, just to um, what I've noticed, or what has been problematic behaviors or extensions of abusive behaviors is, for example, dating with someone who doesn't like children, who doesn't want children, and who may not like your children, and who may, you know, parents may observe their partner overly disciplining their children to the point of physical abuse, and turn to look the other way or look the other way. Parents who allow their partners to be emotionally abusive to their children, basically telling their child, that you're going to have to suck it up, all in the interest of having a person in the house. And I've seen this more so with women, single mothers who remarry or start dating again, and will look the other way. And so, again, and I'll use myself as an example, not to make it about me, but to give an example of what I'm talking about. So, an example is many years ago. This many years ago, when I was working, had a person that, a work colleague that came to work, and she talked about how, um, she had remarried, and so she had an older daughter, and the man that she remarried was very comfortable calling her daughter a whore, a bitch, a slut, that kind of thing, and was very openly calling her her daughter that to her and to her daughter's face. And I wasn't okay with that. She would come to work and talk about it. I'm like, I'm not okay with that. Here I go advocating for a kid I don't even know, right? And I said, that's highly inappropriate. I had to check it one day, and everybody's looking, at the cubicle and whatnot. And I'm like, you're allowing this loser, to come and talk to your daughter that way. Where's your loyalty to your child? I said, that man is way too comfortable. I said, one, he's way too sexually preoccupied with her. Two, he's way too comfortable with disrespecting her in front of you, which lets me know this has been going on for a while. I said, when that girl becomes of age, she's gonna drop you like a hot potato. And I said that man's gonna come between that relationship with you and her, because you've allowed it. That's pretty much how I laid it out to her. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but that's how I laid it out to her. And there's no, in what world is it okay for some dude to be calling your daughter that? And she didn't like that, of course, and I don't care, you know. But it was astounding to me, that was something that had been normalized for her and something she had been willing to put up with. And her thing was, oh well, she's 18, so she's getting ready to go soon, so it doesn't really matter. Again, that was like, that was mind-boggling to me, that, like, and they kind of go through this thing where they focus on that. That's not the bigger picture here. And this isn't me trying to be negative about anybody. This is just me saying that hey, that's not cool. I don't like it. Get from around me with that. He can't. I don't like that. And that's just me. If you have a friend, you should be able to talk to a friend about problematic things that you see and call it out. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I don't like that. Like, you got this man talking to your daughter this way. I'm not okay with that. That's not cool to me. And you need to nip that in the bud. Um, Otherwise, I see you as being a bigger problem than he is. Don't come to work and talk to me about it. You need to go home and talk to him about it and say that's not cool, you know? So naturally, she got upset with me, and, we kind of eventually went on our way. I don't know if it was over this or something else, but anyhow, that is the extent of what I'm talking about, is that you have allowed this person to come in, right? People will allow a person to come in and just sort of get comfortable with disrespecting your child, your blood, the people that you brought into this world. And for the simple fact to say that you have someone that is your companion, you are willing to allow other people, and it goes beyond children too, right? Because sometimes it will be your mother, your father. You will allow other people in your life to be disrespected and things like that, just for the sake of having a companion, and now a spouse. So much so that you have let go of the fact that, like, hey, I'm a package deal, so if you can't respect them, then you're not respecting me. It also There's also a point where it actually looks like you are now aligning with that person and their thoughts and their beliefs, because your silence is really a form of agreement. By you sort of standing by and allowing it, it's really more of a silent confirmation that, okay, well, they can say that and I agree with that too. And I'm really not going to give them any consequences for how they speak to my children, even if my children are adult children, and so on and so forth. There's a good example of this. Oh gosh, I can't remember the woman's name, but there was a great example of this on Bridezilla, where it was a black woman. She was engaged to a much younger man, and that man, he disrespected her daughter all up and down, and he didn't care, and he ended up leaving her at the altar, and on the wedding day, and then he gave some excuse, and then her, everybody was just sitting there waiting. And then he called her, or she was able to sort of track him down, and then they ended up getting eloped. But that whole entire episode, oh man, he just talked badly about her children. He was like, I don't want a relationship with them. And she was like, okay. And she married him. And that was a highly controversial episode. It's probably one of their most, if not the most controversial episode that they had, where it was just like war. Family and Fiance is another good example. So there's a lot of shows that really sort of demonstrate this dynamic, and it's just something that I've seen over the years, both personally and professionally. And you kind of have to call that behavior out when you see that and what's going on there. Thanks so much for watching. Like, share, follow, and definitely subscribe to the newsletter. Thanks so much if this is interesting.